Um, and so I want to segue into that and talk about negotiating at work and managing transitions at work. Because I think one thing that's very hard is that some of us, I know I'm so much like this, that my model was that if I pleased my boss, I would do really well. And then when I started to need to negotiate to work part-time, it was such a different kind of thing because I needed to put myself and my kids first. So I wanted to ask Natalie and Kirsten to talk a little bit about your negotiations at work and your perspective on that. Why don't we start with you, Kirsten?
Let's see. So I think for me, the negotiation really, it wasn't a well thought out 10-year plan about how this all was going to fall into place. I have 3 kids now. I sort of played it by ear. So the first time it was, I was working at Excite. The company went bankrupt. I just had my first baby, and so it felt pretty easy to ask to work 3 days a week, which they took, which was nice. And then after about a year and a half, I went and worked at eBay, and I didn't think they'd take me as a brand new person working 3 days a week, and I couldn't work 5 because I don't think I had the stamina anymore for full time. So I talked them into 4 days a week, which was the first time they'd ever considered that idea. It was a little bit sad being that a woman runs the company, but they were really still very startup mode, and it was a completely foreign idea. So thanks to a strong referral from someone I'd worked with at Excite and a very forward-thinking boss, they let me do it. And then I actually imagined maybe scaling back after I proved myself and got in there and made an impression. But then, for the most part, I really liked it. And I definitely have a part of me that gets pretty motivated by doing the next thing and having the next challenge and a big responsibility there. And so for now, I'm looking at either having other people on my team and enabling them to be able to have different choices, and also continuing to help other women in the company push to do something different. So we now just have recently 2 women for the first time at eBay working 3 days a week, which I'm like, yay. And anything I can do to help people on my team also find some flexibility. So I sort of stand out in the company for having quite a few people over the years work part-time, which is still a little bit rare at eBay, but more and more common, which is great. So that's how I just played it by ear, the different situation. And frankly, right now, we're so desperate to keep good talent because the market's heating up again. There's a lot more managers I know at my company and other places around the valley who are way more flexible than I think they would have been. And so you also play it by ear even just on the market economy, what's happening.
I want to work for you. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Natalie, what's your take?
I think for me, Deloitte is sort of known for being really supportive and creative in the types of programs that they put together. But I think for me personally, I'd been with the firm for about 5 years before I had my first child. I have 3. And I had always worked in groups that were fairly small, 15 to 20, maybe up to 30 people. So even within this huge organization, I've always part of a small group. And it was always mostly men. I mean, now our group has about half of the people are women, and we are the anomaly, like if you look across the country and across in a similar practice area. So I actually learned from observing the men, right? If men had something going on, they didn't, go in there and say, "Oh, may I please?" or "Oh, I really need a favor," or, "Can I do this?" They just said, "This is what I'm going to be doing. This is how I'm going to be meeting your expectations. And, if something's not working, let me know. But otherwise, this is what I'm going to do." And so I actually took that same, I didn't think, "Oh, how am I going to position this?" I went in, I remember there was an event, a happy hour or something. Someone was either joining or leaving, and we were all at, the W Hotel having drinks. And, I was 5 months pregnant with my first, and I was, I thought not showing. And I had planned, I hadn't told anyone yet, but I knew that I wasn't going to be drinking at this event, and people would probably notice and, speculate. So I thought, I'll be very clever, and I'll show up about 10 or 15 minutes late after everyone's placed their order, and I'll walk up to the bar, and I'll place my order quietly there, and then just have them, walk it over to me. So, yes, my clever plan went really well. the waiter came by with everyone's drinks, and the first thing he says, he lifts the orange juice off, and he says, "Who's having this orange juice?" And I raised my hand, and everyone looked at me. So then I knew. But when I went in and talked to, my partner at the time, I said, it's probably obvious by now, I'm pregnant. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I plan on coming back to work full time. I really enjoy what I'm doing. I don't have all the answers on how this is going to work, but these are my thoughts. And they were very supportive. And I think to my benefit, no one had come to them before with a plan that went south, so they didn't have any expectations of it's going to be like that situation before. They didn't have any preconceived notions about it. So I think that worked out. And then I think when I had my second, people were sort of expecting it, but then when I came back and said, and I'm pregnant again with my third, they said, and I said, but I'm going to be coming back, and they were like, oh yeah, we know, you always come back. So I think throughout it all, I think I give myself the permission. I don't know, every week that, forever this is going to be my life, and I think I've had enough I've built up enough goodwill with the group that they know me, and I know them, and they know that they can rely on me, and I've figured out who I can reach out to and rely upon and sort of create a team. And so I think that gives you're never asking for permission for anything. You just keep doing what you're doing, and you kind of go from there. I guess my point is there's no answer, there's no one answer, but I would definitely encourage people to be in the forefront and go in there as not asking for an answer. It's not up to them to decide, right? It's your decision of what you want to do. So.
I also think one thing that I hear you saying is that it might not have been so easy to do this if you had changed jobs a lot and been at different companies. I mean, the fact that you knew the company so well, and they knew you so well,
that
helped
definitely
a lot too.
That definitely helped.
And I also have to say, I've had guys show the same kind of tentativeness that women are criticized for in terms of taking paternity leave. I mean, it's hard to, I've had guys sort of slink into my office and say, I know the post-paternity leave policy is a month, but nobody's ever taken it, and, so they feel it too. I mean, some of this uncharted territory, it's normal to feel uncertain. I don't think you should ever show it, but, it's really normal.